Howdy everyone. Welcome back. Apparently my last tier list, I read most of your guys' comments and a lot of y'all were absolutely roasting me. Y'all roasted me so badly to the point you turned me into
Steamed hams.
so this time we're actually going to go ahead and take another look at this boosters tier list, mainly because I will admit I did kind of rushed it. So we're going to try to take a second look at these all 11 boosters. I also did a little bit of extra research to make sure knowing what these boosters are capable of, especially localization. Don't you fellas worry, I took the courtesy to double check what localization does. But yeah, let's get to it. Also, like and subscribe. Those likes and subscribes always are a huge help to me. Anyways, let's get to it. Also, if you couldn't tell, we are doing this based on teams. When you are in a team, the boosters act much differently than solo. I'll probably make a solo version of the boosters tier list later, but for now, we're just going to focus on team-based, cooperation, and see what boosters work best when you're working in a group. And the first thing we're going to take care of is the expanded Hell Pod. The expanded Hell Pod obviously does what it's meant to do. It gives you maximum ammunition upon every drop. Now, normally, last time I put this thing in A tier, I believe. Which some of you got pretty upset about, which I don't understand. I still feel like A is a pretty solid place to put it. Now when I'm taking another glance at this booster, when you're thinking about working in a group of 4, yeah, this thing is pretty necessary. Mainly because of one major thing, and that is the resupply pod. You cannot sit there and tell me that you haven't been just running around left and right with a buddy of yours, just absolutely liberating half of the map, and the next thing you know, you're out of bullets. Only for that those 2 other guys halfway across the map deciding to drop the resupply pod, and one of those guys decided to get super greedy and takes one of those extra supply boxes out of the supply pod because they wanted an extra rocket in their pocket. So having this ability to just basically kamikaze slash just let every last bullet count to the bitter end until you have the ability to just get reinforced again to get with maximum ammo is always pretty helpful. I will admit, it's pretty solid. Alright, up next, we got the Vitality Enhancer. Last time I put this thing in B, took another glance at it, I even looked up what it's capable of doing, and it actually does a lot more than what I thought. At first, I thought it increased the overall health of your limbs, but it also apparently reduces the chance of actually getting injured, which basically means kind of preventing you from, getting your arm hurt or your legs injured or your body or your head severely injured, that kind of stuff. And it also apparently increases your health too, which I never realized. Just pretty interesting. But I will admit I was a little bit harsh on this one, so I'll bump it up to A this time. This, however, still stays the D tier. I'm sorry, but I don't know what is the point of the radar, man. The enhanced radar just feels worthless to me, mainly because I don't really do stealth, and when you're trying, I wouldn't even bother trying to do this like stealth guy when you're in a huge group of people trying to just take care of an objective, because 9 out of 10 times your whole entire team can just steamroll an entire objective in less than 2 minutes by the time you sneak around for like 5 to 10 minutes, and having a useless radar extension isn't going to help. Anyways, up next we got Mr. Runboy, and I'm just gonna say I still think this thing is really darn good. Sticking this thing to S, I really enjoy it. It it increases your stamina, it makes you run longer, it's stamina regen, it's just you get everything. You everything that's based on running, you get it. It's really handy, and it helps with, especially when you're in like a freaking heavy armor. Oh man, you will not believe how annoying it is to run around in that slow ass heavy armor trying to get to point A to point B when you're constantly running out of stamina. So yeah, the stamina booster is extremely helpful. Right, up next, Muscle Enhancer. Personally, for me, the Muscle Enhancer is basically average. Normally, I can understand using this thing in rough biomes like the swamp or even the winter or desert biome. But even then, I just don't really see not much use of it. Not to mention not a lot of people really actually use it. So I'm gonna stick it this one in the C tier actually, because it's not bad. It's just like you could pick a better booster. The additional reinforcement. Now, I will admit I kind of over exaggerated putting this thing in, I believe, A or S. Namely because I'm so used to joining in a team that just gets absolutely wrecked half of the time. That's probably why I like utilizing this freaking booster, but I will admit, when you have a really good team that knows how to not die every 5 seconds, it's actually pretty worthless. So I'll stick this thing at B tier, honestly. I will admit, this thing could be a bit better. This thing, however, still sticks to S. I'm sorry, but this thing will always get you out of a sticky situation. Anything to reduce the call-in time for exhausted reinforcements is always going to be a benefit, especially in those dire situations when you completely run out of reinforcements. Even though it is, again, just as situational as the additional reinforcements, I still feel like this thing is still pretty good as a clutch tool. Actually, you know what? I'm actually going to reduce this thing down to A tier. Actually. Because again, like I said, if you have a good team that knows what they're doing and don't, exhaust all their reinforcements, it does become apparently useless. But even then, it's still really handy for dire situations. And up next, we got Localization Booster. Now, this one, it was the one that I actually butchered. Oh boy. And I want to apologize, because I never realized that this thing was actually pretty solid. Especially when you're facing against higher difficulties, like rank 8 to 9, I believe. But apparently what this thing does, it doesn't reduce the amount of reinforcement, or nor it doesn't really reduce the amount of reinforcement, but instead kind of increases the time till the enemy can, call in more reinforcements. So basically, let's say you run up to a guy, he calls in reinforcements, and some drop pods come in. Well, when he calls in reinforcements, there's usually a timer that goes off until they can call in more reinforcements. Well, the localization booster is supposedly supposed to increase that timer by an additional 10% from the wiki I read. I don't know. Like I said, I had to do a little bit of research for the localization booster. And I will have links for where I did some of my research in the comments below. But yeah, even then, it's still pretty handy, and I will admit I did kind of butcher it a bit too much. I'll put it at A at least. Because Now, and the reason I'm not going S for this thing is mainly because even with a localization booster, if your team can wipe out the units that are capable of calling in reinforcements, except for bugs, every bug can call in reinforcements. But for like bots, the only type of bots that can call reinforcements are the small, weak ones. But yeah, if your team knows to take out all those small bots, normally after they do their first call in, it takes a little bit before they can do another. Alright, up next is the evacuation. Normally, I think I put this thing in S here. I'm not gonna lie, I still really like this thing. Having that reduced time for your dropship to call in after completing a mission is always going to be a benefit. Whether if you're being raided or not, because trust me when I say nothing is more boring than walking around, twirling your thumbs, waiting for that dropship timer to go down when there is no enemies around. So having something that can reduce that is always going to be helpful in both a good and a bad situation. And up next we got motivational shock, and yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This thing, no one ever uses this thing. Not to mention, it's practically worthless. As they reduce the effectiveness of like acid for quite a while, and it's just not that very good, man. I'm sorry. It would be a little bit more beneficial if you could help reduce your movements, increase your movement speed while you're in an EMS field from like those EMS mortar strikes. But it doesn't even do that. It's only good for those sticky acid spitters from the bug side. It's just way too situational. It's just not very good. And last but certainly not least, we got experimental infusion. I mean, need I say more? This thing turns you into a invincible god for at least a few seconds. And it works even better when you're literally equipped with the medic outfit. Like, you could literally cheese this booster to make yourself indestructible. So I'm putting this at top S. And that is the boosters redone, but in a team-based situation. Now, hopefully, I hope I fix this booster tier list to y'all's liking, and if not, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do this again. I will do this for solos, however, but you're gonna have to give me a little bit more time for that one. That out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.